Good morning, everybody. My name's Robin Monroe-Miller, and on behalf of the National Out of School Hours Services Association, I'd like to welcome you here today to our first Out of School Hours Research Symposium, Inspiration into Practice. Today is quite an exciting day for us, but as I begin, I would like to pay my respects to Aboriginal elders past and present, because we're meeting today on Gadigal land, and the Gadigal people are part of the Eora Nation, and so in meeting here we recognise that we are on their land. Our event today really is for out of school hours care for the sector, and it's a result of many months of work that has been put into a project commenced over a year ago now, when we met with the Department of, now the Federal Department of Education, or the Australian Government, and talked to them about an option for using the skills and talents of the out of school hours sector to actually do some research, so that we weren't actually bringing in a consultant to add another book to our list of things that we needed to read. We had these talented, incredible people spread across Australia who were doing wonderful things in their services, or had the capacity to do wonderful things in their services, and we wanted to know that they had the opportunity to be trained in action research and to actually explore what research could be done in their own services. As a result of that, and the faith that the Australian Government put into NOSHA, we now have 47 projects across Australia where service educators are actually working with other educators to actually do action research. And so I'd like to acknowledge the Australian Government's support of this program, and I'd also like to acknowledge those educators across Australia who put their hand up and said, yes, I want to be part of that action research project. And today, oh yes, they're worthy of clap. And today, of course, we have 7 services presenting to us about the start of their journeys with action research and what they've found out, and to give their perspectives. One of the things we've always known about out of school hours care, and I don't know whether you've had that same experience, working in outside school hours care, you go to different things, and even when you're with somebody who's presenting on the stage, you learn just as much from the people around you. You know, you exchange information, what do you do in your service, how do you do this, and you might not necessarily copy exactly what they do, but you're inspired to say, actually, I could do something like that and I could tweak it. It's like when you go out to a craft market and you suddenly start looking really carefully at somebody's product on the table and you think, yeah, I could tweak that and make that. And so it's that same approach. Action research, we feel, by sharing the findings of the action research projects in the services, they may not be immediately able to be put into your service in the same way, but that you will find a similar inspiration about what things can happen in your service, what you might do differently, and certainly how you might actually engage in developing your service around the flexibility, around children with additional needs, in fact, around any area in your service that you feel needs attention. And so with these projects being carried out across Australia, it means that we will be able to collate their findings, interpret some of the data as well, that will help inspire other educators to say, these things can happen in your services. And we also hope that other people will be motivated to take on and learn more about action research and creating meaningful change within their service environments. I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Jennifer Cartmel, who's here today, and Jennifer, wave. Jennifer has engaged with us in this process and has been the facilitator for the training provided to our educators on action research, and has been a mentor and a friend to many of us, and also on the group site, where we have a central area where people who are participating in the action research can go online, have conversations, share information and data. So Jennifer, thank you very much for your support with this project. The one exciting part about today that I find is the most exciting is that our presenters today potentially have never presented in front of a group before. So those of you who are sitting there thinking, I'd die before I present before a group, you'll probably have to just have a lot of empathy at this point, because there's probably people sitting there saying, I'm number 3 presenting or number 4 presenting. God, I can't wait till number 5. And so in the spirit of outside school hours care, it's a very relaxed, informal presentation style that we're adopting. We're going to have each of our presenters go through their slides and to speak about their project and the findings that they've made. And they can speak in any style they want. They can dance. I know some don't want to stand at a lectern. That could be because at a national conference, or our state conference last year for the New South Wales members amongst us, I stood at a lectern. And does everybody remember what happened? Yes, it collapsed. I got too excited and slammed on it. Okay, so I shouldn't probably tell people on their debut performance, and the lectern could collapse. But I can assure you now, as a result, every member of the network team checks very carefully lecterns before I walk near them. And if I'm allowed near a lectern, that means it's quite secure. You can bang on it, okay? So it is a relaxed style. It is, as I said, everyone will have a different style of presenting. And at the conclusion of these project presentations, we will have opportunities for questions. And in case you're like me and you get distracted because every new idea you find some other new idea, you have a burning question. On the table, there is paper there that you can actually write your burning question. And if you don't get a chance to ask it today, certainly we'll be able to collect these questions and collate them and get the answers back to you. We're also saying to you, if you're interested, if today inspires you slightly to know more about action research and participation, we still have some options for people to join in the project. So, it might be something you want to explore further. So please feel free to complete this. And in a couple of days' time, in the true nature of reflection, we will not be making you do an evaluation today. In a couple of days' time, it would be really appreciated if, when you get that little email advice about clicking on to do an online survey about what happened today, an online evaluation, it would be very valuable for us to have your feedback on how today went. And that's not necessarily on how the projects were presented, but just on the format, the layout, and what you actually were able to gain from it. So there are whole lots of processes for every member of the out of school hours sector to be involved in this project. This is the first project of its kind. I've had other sectors approach me and say, how did you get that through the government? And the fact is, it was because we believe that this is a new way of delivery, a new way of inspiring educators and inspiring service provision and innovation. So that being the case, somebody that I've known a very long time and who constantly inspires me with her energy and her enthusiasm and her skills is Marley Trail. And Marley is from Community Childcare Victoria, and she has been coordinating the project down in Victoria on behalf of NOSHA, and I'd like to invite Marley up to introduce the presenters for Victoria.
Hi everybody, it's so great to be here. I also would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, and I sincerely pay my respects to any elders past and present, and as we learn from each other as many generations have before on the land that we're on. I also stand with great pride in the presence of our 4 Victorian researchers and also their counterparts from other states and also from the Territory. Community Childcare Victoria acknowledges and thanks the Australian Government and NOSHA for the support that has been provided in the outside school hours care through the childcare flexibility trials. It's just been an amazing experience, I'm sure, for not only our educators, but for all others that are in the room that are presenting today. I believe this project has raised a healthy curiosity for our educators to clearly reflect on their pedagogy as they build their knowledge and build their capacity to further meet the needs of children, families and their communities. We believe that the questions that they have chosen by our researchers clearly demonstrates many commonalities that services are addressing nationally, and I think that's probably what we're hearing is coming out through these trials. We've had the unique opportunity also, we've got 2 groups running that were staggered, and we've been very fortunate enough to bring them back together. So that learning that is taking place is certainly gathering momentum that I'm sure that will spill over and certainly encourage others to become involved in action research as the great tool that it is. It gives me the greatest of pleasure to introduce both groups of our researchers connected to inspiration into practice. So our first ones that are going to be presenting are Kathy and Tula. which will be followed by Jade and Sarah. Come and tell them all the great stuff that you've been doing. The projects that were chosen are quite dear to them, and they've came out of issues from their local community, and the depth that they've gone to find out what is best for children, how can they meet the needs. Issues that are coming up as daily that others may be thinking, oh, I may handle this a little bit differently. But our researchers have taken that on as a task and explored, and they'll talk about all of the things that they've found. So Tula and Kathy, come on down.